So you're watching here Senator Chris Murphy and Senator Cory Booker dress down a white nationalist that Donald Trump nominated to a senior position in the Department of State. Yeah, the guy has very abhorrent views and made statements that are discriminatory and racist against Latinos, Hispanic, anyone who's not white, and Jewish people, even though he was born a Jew. Yeah, I don't know where he finds these self-hating people from. Anyway, so I'm going to play what Senator Chris Murphy said and exposed during the hearing for this confirmation of this person, and Senator Cory Booker. The Chris Murphy video is about 5 minutes long, and Cory Booker is 10 minutes, so stay along for the ride. On the other side, I'm going to give my reasonings why I think this candidate is not only programmatically and practically disqualified from serving, and then also obviously substantively why he is disqualified from serving in this role that would be representing the United States government, and we would be paying this man's salary. Yeah. Check this out, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for appearing here today. Mr. Carl, I think it's just heartbreaking that you have been nominated for this position and that you've reached a panel before the United States Senate. But I do want to give you a chance to go a little bit deeper in your explanations of your personal beliefs. They are directly relevant to your fitness to serve. You already have had some of your statements read to you, but I'd like you to respond to at least a few of them. One of the things you have said is that anti-white discrimination is the most pervasive and politically salient form of racism today. So do you continue to believe that anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question, and thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dhillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind, because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
yeah. Senator, no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
You have made several statements about your worry regarding the erasure of white culture in America. I understand Irish American culture, I understand Italian American culture. I maybe don't understand white culture as well. Tell me the values, the white values that you believed are being erased by the current American government or prior American governments?
Senator, thank you for that question. I would say that it's not, I didn't use the word values, I used the word culture. I think that anytime you have large degrees of mass immigration, you're going to have a change in culture, if those are, especially if they're coming from culturally dissimilar backgrounds. And no matter what group it is, if it were in China, it would be the same thing. If it were in New Guinea, it would be the same thing.
Yeah, but tell me about what that means. I mean, culture is values, right? It's expressions of identity. Tell me what is being erased. I mean, give me some examples of what you believe are being erased about white identity. What is white identity to you?
Well, Senator, thank you for that.
Tell me how it's different than other identities.
Senator, I think the question of identity is something that lots of
Yeah, I
scholars
get you. You
go
can do a sermon on identity, but just tell me how you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Senator, it would have, thank you again for the question, and genuinely thank you for finally letting me have a chance to explain some of my comments a little bit. But I would say that, they could be things like going to a certain type of Christian church and that sort of culture, which is very different. I mean, you can all be Christians, right, in a certain environment, but African-American Christians might worship differently than Chinese Christians that might worship differently than white Christians. Of course, sometimes you have multi-ethnic churches, but things like that, certain types of Anglo-derived culture that comes from our history.
Like what?
Let me think about this. Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and certain, pride that went with that, that would be one example. Obviously, you can have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more distinct.
You're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than black identity.
Senator, again, thank you for the question.
You spent a lot of time talking about this and writing about this.
Yeah, no.
You're struggling with this, but you should be fairly easily, I would assume, able to tell us your thoughts on how white identity is different than other kinds of identity and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be very precise. Because I'm here in front of a Senate committee, I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Food ways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white churches or white food or white music is being erased?
Senator, again, thank you for the question. What I would say is the biggest thing, because actually, contrary to many of the comments that have been shown, racial nationalists have been very, very critical of my work because they correctly say that I'm actually, of course, not a racial nationalist, which I'm not. I'm a civic nationalist. I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better. That
Senator, I have to disagree with that.
But you haven't been able to really coherently answer any of my questions about how you define white culture, how you define the threat that's posed. I appreciate you being very honest that you believe that white Americans are subject to greater amounts of discrimination in this country than black Americans. I do not think that's a sentiment that is shared broadly on this committee. It is all what makes you just wildly unqualified to take this post. I'm well over my time. Thank you.
Well, Senator, I do appreciate you letting me actually respond. I genuinely do. So thank you.
You're going to be, Mr. Carl, I never thought I would have somebody that made a lot of the statements that you've made before the United States Senate. And I would love to discuss some of your comments. You're going to be working with international organizations. Do you think one race is superior than another race on the planet Earth?
Senator, absolutely not.
You don't. So do you think that America would be weaker if it was, say, 40% Jewish?
Senator, absolutely not in and of itself. I think the problem...
Well, why did you qualify that?
No. Well, Senator, if you let me finish, I do not. I believe that unity, as President Trump has said, rather than diversity, is a greater strength.
But why not simply say it doesn't matter what percentage of our population is Jewish?
Senator, it certainly doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Senator, if I could finish, as somebody of Jewish origin myself, and I do want to take this moment to say, because there have been some comments made, one of my weaknesses, and we've discussed some that you may think in general are weaknesses, is sometimes I take an idea too far. And I made some comments in interviews about minimizing the effect of the Holocaust that were absolutely wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and defend them here. I just want to be very, very clear on that point. Again, had I been in Germany in that time, even though I'm a sixth-generation American, but had I not, I would have been killed just like anybody else.
I've heard you say that you regret some of your comments about Jews.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made...
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that, upon consideration...
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret?
Senator, thank you for the question. As a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace...
See, sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup is. You believe it matters what the racial makeup of America is.
Senator...
Do you believe it matters, yes or no, what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, to echo President Trump, I believe
I don't want
unity
you to
rather
echo
than diversity...
President Trump. I want you to answer my question, yes or no. Does it matter what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, I'll stand on my comment. Thank you.
What's your comment? Answer the question, yes or no.
Echoing President Trump, I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength.
So you have a problem if America grew to be more Latinos than white people?
Senator, the individual group is not important. This is a cross-societal...
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote-unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority?
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common, that's a strength.
Can I read you what you've said? Because it sounds like this. You said the Great Replacement is real, and they are going to try to make you pay for it. Who is they?
Senator, thank you for that question. I simply don't know from you reading that one isolated comment.
So this is the problem. You make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about blacks, and you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me. That somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity, as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have a racial hierarchy. There's no way for me to read this in any other way.
Senator,
you have said our country, based upon religious diversity, based upon ethnic diversity, based upon racial diversity, you have indicated that somehow those make America weaker or stronger. That God forbid our nation grows in population, that then you suddenly say, I'm aggrieved, and they are trying to replace us. This is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, but you cut us up and divide us along racial lines.
Senator, respectfully, I do not think that they do.
You cannot use the word respectfully, because you do not respect me.
Oh,
you
no,
look
actually,
upon
I do.
me as my color of my skin. You say holidays like Juneteenth are racial hustles. Don't come here and hustle me.
Senator,
you have said statements that other nations are going to look upon you and read plainly. When you go to a country of a different religion or ethnicity, you have discriminated against Jews in your writing, you have discriminated against others, and then you claim yourself as a victim. Mr. Chairman, I've never seen such a blatantly racist individual who doesn't even deny that he's made these statements, but wants to tell us that he regrets them, and yet still believes that this body, who is committed to principles of equality, who is committed to ideals of our founders, that you're not in direct violation to the ideals and values and principles. And the last thing I want to say, I watched people beat others when they attacked the Capitol, viciously attack police officers. Brian Sicknick, a New Jersey resident, was beaten near death and would die days later. And you say those violent felons, you literally have said that they were treated worse than people during Jim Crow. When thousands of Americans were lynched, murdered, beaten, and killed, you equate Capitol Hill rioters with receiving worse treatment than Americans during Jim Crow, which even some of the worst people who participated in that violence and beatings have come forward decades later and said, I was wrong. It is shameful that when this body ran for its life, when they had gallows for the vice president put outside, when they tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that you would equate those people to the folks that were victimized and terrorized by white nationalist organizations like the KKK. Sir, you have no decency. You have no honor. You say inflammatory things because it thinks it will ingratiate you to those who are paying your salary. And you sit here before me and try to wrap yourself in the American flag? Well, I believe in this nation. I believe in the principles. I believe in those who fought and died for our country. You disgrace that legacy and the ideals that we all swear an oath to uphold, that does not believe in one nation for one people and another people. Dear God, I pray for us if we let somebody like you represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
Senator, I absolutely deplore Jim Crow, but I do not agree with the characterization that you have done of my views.
Yeah. So first, programmatically, no. From a procedural standpoint, last year, the Republicans in the Senate greenlit a bunch of Donald Trump's unqualified sycophants. We've seen how that's gone. This guy has zero diplomatic experience. Why is he being nominated for this role? He's just a loyalist, and because he upholds Donald Trump's racist, white nationalist views, and obviously. So no, we're done. We're over that. You guys are realizing that's a mistake. And then also, even though Kristi Noem had made actions anti the Native people in South Dakota, where she was the governor, so much so that she was banned from several reservations, like 5 reservations banned this woman. And since then, we've seen her really horrible, xenophobic, vitriolic, hateful things that she's done and said, and the fury she's released. She was the one who oversaw the killing of United States citizens. All right? So no more. So programmatically, this guy disqualified just because of that. No more unqualified sycophants, loyalists, especially those this blatantly. We haven't had one this blatantly racist before. I don't know. He's testing us with this guy, this Jeremy Carr guy. Now, practically, this is why she should be disbarred. Practically, he doesn't need to be in this position because he's not qualified, because he is unaware of human migration. And if you listen to what he says, he mentioned Italians and Irish things. What is something unique about Italians and Irish people? They were from Italy and Ireland. This is the United States. So how did they get here? They migrated. So the early migration to the United States. So if you're against the complexion of the nation changing, then you should be down for the original complexion of the nation, which is its native people. You're advocating on behalf of people who didn't originate here, sir. And the nature of migration is that over time, people travel and move and change. He himself was born a Jew. He was now a Protestant. So you yourself, Mr. Carl, have evolved according to you, or you've changed your position. So if you can change, why can't the United States government change? Because you don't like the change. Some Jewish people don't like the fact that you changed from being a Jew to a Protestant. But does that give them the right to say, no, you must remain being a Jew? No, you can change as well. It's the evolution of humanity. Furthermore, if he's unaware, he is woefully misinformed or undereducated. And that's a problem with the United States education, is such that it really erased the reality. And the reality is, even the early settlers to the United States relied on the native people to teach them how to smoke their fish, to teach them how to survive in a climate that's unlike the wintry climates they came from, taught them how to build canoes, told them about irrigation, how to farm, gave them medicinal that kept them alive. They were just like dying left and right from all sorts of malaria and things like that when they got here. And throughout the history of the United States, even though the majority of people for a good chunk of time have been Anglo-Saxon from Europe, every single era has contributions from other cultures. So to say it's white is ignoring the fact that it's always had an infusion of various different groups that contribute to what made America and make the society what it is.
Yo, I just saw this yesterday.
Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American. Not Spanish, not Muslim, not anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie. There should be a meatloaf, maybe some fried chicken, and an English-speaking performer.
And I have thoughts, Miss Kelly. You said that kind of football is ours. Sure, but American football stems from English rugby and wasn't normalized until the 1880s. It's a religion here, but the foundation is British. You said the halftime show needs to stay quintessentially American. Well, Puerto Rico became part of the U.S. in 1898. And as I mentioned in my last video, Puerto Ricans became citizens in 1917. So American football from British rugby and Puerto Ricans becoming U.S. citizens happened within a few decades of each other. Also, Bad Bunny is a U.S. citizen. You said good old-fashioned American pie. Well, apples originate from modern-day Kazakhstan. And apple pie, that recipe came from Dutch settlers, the same ones who founded New Amsterdam, which today is known as New York City. Meatloaf, brought to you by German and Italian immigrants in the late 1800s. Fried chicken, introduced by Scottish immigrants who fried chicken in lard, and enslaved black cooks, mostly from West Africa, who helped create and cement it as we know it today. Every food you named is a third culture outcome of immigration and forced labor. Ms. Kelly, hot dogs are from Jewish immigrants, hamburgers from German immigrants. This country put Japanese Americans in internment camps, but now loves sushi. The Chinese Exclusion Act wasn't lifted until 1943, but today every small town has a Chinese restaurant. Because America doesn't create culture from scratch. Every tradition we call American started somewhere else, landed here, and became something new. That's what makes this country great. And everything you're calling un-American right now, give it 50 years. You mention Muslims for no reason, but have you tried halal chicken and rice? It's already a classic New York dish. Reggaeton and K-pop will be oldies. What's foreign today becomes quintessentially American tomorrow. But
Southern cooking, Southern culture is heavily borrowed from the enslaved people from the South. Their cooking, their styles, their culture, their hair, the dress, every single thing is part of it. You just think it's white. No, it's not. You've been undereducated. You just didn't even know it, sir. And I believe he's from the Midwest, Montana. When you see people wearing leather goods and fringes and the cowboy hats and all those things, where do you think that originated from? All of the studs and things from native people who were using fringes and leather as part of their clothes, as part of their cultures, as part of their traditions. That's not white. That is infusion of culture of the people. When people come, we borrow from things. Everyone contributes once. So it's always been a nation of immigrants. Even in the earlier days, it was a nation of different ethnicities. He mentions Italy, Italians, and Irish, by the way, who, when they first came, they weren't even recognized as white, sir. But there's part of Italian culture, which is ethnicity, and there are ethnic Greeks and ethnic Jews, which is he originated from. All of those ethnicities are part of what made the United States a multicultural nation. So from its beginning, when the early settlers came and added their mix to the native, it was a multicultural nation. It was a multiracial nation then. Early settlers, it was always multi-ethnic. It was always multi-something, diverse. It was never, ever white. He's trying to make a white identity. Sir, that's not going to fly. He also, not only does he ignore the fact that human migration is a thing, the fact that he himself and his ancestors and the white people are not origins, or the fact that every single era of the United States has always been multicultural forever. He also really underestimates the extent to which people don't want what he wants. I'm going to play for you a video of a student in his college who goes around asking questions, and he asks, "What do you like about black people?" Look at this.
What's your favorite thing about black people? Their humor. They're just funny people. What's your favorite thing about black people?
Their hairstyles. Braids are really pretty, and how you guys can do all different types of things.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Their church culture and how they make worshiping fun. The performances and singing.
The sororities and fraternities, just the energy they bring makes you want to come together.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Very accepting of people for who and how they are. Judge nobody. All my homies, black mamas, they can cook like a mother.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Y'all are very passionate about everything that you do. You say you're going to get something done, you're going to make sure it gets done.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Specifically black culture that created jazz and blues, and it started from black plantations.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
They hype me up a lot. This girl, she's like, "Oh my god, your body's tea looks so good." It made me feel good.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
They were raised with discipline. There was a different standard there, which caused them to be more respectful.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
I love their style, the way they dress, everything about them.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Their cooking. Always been a 10 out of 10.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Their music is catchy.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Really accepting.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
Their inventions.
Traffic light, ironing board.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
How loving they are. I always try to be kind to everybody.
What's your favorite thing about black people?
They're so joyous, just being amazing in everything they do.
Notice that some of them are like, "I like their churches. I like my black friend's mama's cooking." So people don't want bland, like saltless food, sir. People are happy that their churches now incorporate bands, and there's some services that have a choir. They do gospel choir inside of Protestant churches now. So our diversity makes us better. People want that. No one wants what you want, sir. Like, why are you trying to go back? And you're trying to go back to an era that doesn't even really exist. There never, ever really was just this white era that was not multicultural. And every part of the United States history has always had some multicultural aspects of it. It's just that you didn't know and you weren't aware and you were undereducated. It made you think that you were. I have debates oftentimes with people not anymore, because I just block it. I don't have no time and patience for that. I'm too busy. And the past, where they, say we all built everything. We just, we made all the inventions. We built everything. Happy Black History Month. I'm going to put here a list of inventions that black people made that you probably didn't even know. So they never told you. There's a lot of hidden figures. So you were under the impression that every single thing that was built, that we use, the cell phone that you're watching, everything, a black woman invented the technology from that. So when you learn the fact that a lot of things you rely on was not all built by one person, that breaks down your belief that this nation was built for you, by you. It was not. It never was. It's always built for everyone. It's like Cory Booker said, it is a nation that says, "Come one, come all." It's built it's a nation of immigrants. Outside the people who were here from their origins, and those who were born here without their permission, without their willingness, because they were formerly enslaved, and their descendants. Everyone else came here seeking opportunity because they were invited, but they came from someplace else. So you're asking It's just ridiculous. So for all those reasons, he's unqualified, and I do hope that the senators respect at minimum Cory Booker and the Jewish senators and not vote for this person, because essentially why Donald Trump he's trying to stave off what's going to happen, and you're just going to give us 20 votes, because if you force those senators to have to vote for avowed white nationalists to affirm that our taxpayers pay for white nationalists, that's going to be a great thing that whoever's opposing them can use. Like, this guy voted for KKK. Wants us to pay for a white nationalist. He voted to affirm a white nationalist. Yeah, thanks. The ads just write themselves. Thank you, Donald Trump. Thanks for setting this up. And then you're going to be wondering, how come you lost so bad? How did you lose? How did we win a supermajority? How did it happen? Because you're just stupid. So actually, in hindsight, leave them up there. Let's force a vote. JJ Legal, each one teach one. Let's talk below.